Hello everyone, I'm Sunil. I welcome you back to my YouTube channel Tech Basics. So in this video, we'll try to understand what are the basic concepts that are required in order to understand programs that are related to data structures. So here we are going to understand in detail the concept of writing programs with the help of functions, with the help of pointers, and with the help of strings and pointers, so that we can very well understand the concepts related to linked list, double linked list, and so on. So let's try to understand what exactly is a function. Why is that in a program I need to write functions? So if you go through all the programs that we have done so far, we have written only one function in that, and that is called a main function. Now what is that we want to do is, as the size of the program increases and the number of statements that you are going to write in the main function increases, what happens is the complexity of the program will increase. Suppose say you are writing 100 statements in a main function, and then if there is any error in that particular function or in the code that you have written, it becomes difficult for us to debug that particular error. So what is that we need to do for that is, you can divide that particular code into parts. You call it as modules, you call it as procedures, you call it as subprograms, or you call them as functions. It is exactly similar to when we have when we arrange a party at home, nothing but a function at home. Then if suppose say only one member from the family works for that particular party, then what happens? Then you will see that the person who is working for that party or that event, he will get overburdened, and then because of that he may not be able to complete the task within a time, and then he may forget some of the things and so on. So what exactly we do? Instead of overloading a particular person, we try to divide that work and we share the work among all the family members. So the same task which one person was doing, we'll try to see that every family members does some part of that particular work. So that is how we divide the task into multiple subtasks. Thereby what happens, each individual can perform the task, which will be very smaller. It will not be as big as the task that is given to a single person. So thereby what happens is, everyone can work with that particular task easily, and then we can complete the function or that particular event in a better way. So that is what we are saying over here. We need to divide and then we need to rule the things. Basically, when you talk about functions, it is to provide modularity in a C program. That is, if suppose say along with the main function, if you are writing some other function, suppose say the name of the function is add, then what an advantage we get is, whenever you want to perform addition, you can call that particular function. So that means whenever we write a function, apart from a function called main function, you can call that particular function any number of times within your main function or within your program and so on. So this is what we call it as divide and rule policy, which was implemented by East India Company long back and so on. So these functions in some textbooks, you can call it as procedures, we call it as subroutines, we call it as subprograms and so on. So what we observe is, when we write a program using functions, we understand it easily and we can debug that particular program easily. So instead of we dumping everything in a main function, now what we can do is, depending on the task, we can write the code in add function, we can write the code in subtract function, we can write the code in multiply function, we can write the code in divide function, and all these functions will be coordinated by the main function. So whenever you execute your program, it is the main function which executes first, and in turn main function will call the rest of the functions as per the need and so on. So here I have shown a diagram wherein you can see that there are multiple functions over there, and then the main function is going to call each of these functions like add function, subtract function, multiply function, divide function, and so on. Here the main function acts as a boss and will execute first. The main function will call all other functions as required. Even a function apart from the main function can call other functions, which means a main function can call these functions, and if required, the function called division function can call multiply function, can call subtract function, add function, and so on. So what is an advantage of using a function? So the advantage is you can write a function one time, you can use it for many times. That means you will find reusability within the code. We can call C functions any number of times in a program and from any other function. We can easily debug and understand the program as it is divided into many small functions. Repetition of the code can be avoided. So whatever code you feel is getting repeated 10 times or 5 times in your program, you separate out, make it as a function so that you need not to write it again, but you can use it any number of times. So break a big program into small pieces and execute. Example, like when a function is arranged at home, as I said, all the family members has to work for it, then it becomes easy to manage the event. Imagine if the same work is done by only the head of the family, then what happens? So that is what a difference you get when you write a program only with the help of a main function, and when you write a program with the help of multiple other functions, including your function called main function. How to write the function? So whenever you are trying to write a function, your functions can be classified as predefined functions and you have user-defined functions. Predefined functions are the standard library functions which are defined in various header files. Like in the previous case, in the previous video, we have seen how to work with functions that are associated with strings like string length, string copy, string compare, and so on. These are all predefined functions. So when you write a function on your own, then you call it as user-defined function. So the syntax to write the function goes in this fashion. You need to have a return type for a function, followed by function name, and followed by parameter list, or some textbook write it as argument list, and so on. And then you will have the body of the function over here. So whenever you are trying to write any function, basically you are supposed to provide some name for the function. So like add function, subtract function, multiply function, factorial function, prime number program function, sort function, and so on. So you can provide any name for the function, and the function which you are writing can take the values from other functions. So those you can call it as parameters, you call parameter list, or you call it as argument list. So you will write name of the function, and your function can take some values from other functions which you are supposed to specify over here. And then this function will perform some task using these particular values, and this function in turn can return some value to other function. Then the function starts and then function completes. Here you are supposed to write the body of the function. So let's go into details of this. What I am trying to say over there is whenever you are going to write a function, you will write the name of the function. You can provide some name for the function over there. It can be any name of your choice. Yeah, it can be any name of your choice, and then your function can take some values from other function which you are supposed to write over here. You can call it as argument list, or you call it as parameter list, and so on. And then your function can also return some value which you are supposed to write over here. So you write return type, you write the function name, and then you write the argument list. What it exactly means for us, let's try to understand that. Suppose say you have a person who can deposit the money for you in the bank. So then you want to perform the task of depositing the money. That's it. So what is that you do? You write the name of the function as deposit, And then you are not talking about whether you give the money and all. So you are not going to write anything as the arguments, because you are not providing anything to that particular person, and you are not asking anything from that particular person after completion of task. So what is that you do? You just write the name of the function as deposit, and then you write this open and close parenthesis wherein you are not providing any value, so keep it blank. So this person will perform the task of depositing the money, and then this person is not going to give us any value. So when you are not giving any value, your return type has to be shown as void over there. So you can write a function in this fashion. You can as well write a function in this way, wherein you can say void deposit, and then you can say float amount, which means what? You are going to accept some value from other function, and then this function is going to perform deposit operation, and after performing deposit operation, it is not going to give any value to any other function, which means you are giving the money to the person who is going to deposit. He will complete the task and he is not going to give you anything back. So we have written there as void. In the similar way, you can as well write like this: integer deposit, and then you can say float amount. So this is one more way of rewriting it, wherein you are going to provide the money to the person who is going to deposit the money in the bank. He will perform the task of depositing the money, and if the money is say huge which you are depositing in the bank, then you will ask for the receipt from that particular person, which means you will get something back. That is where I need to write here, not as void now. I should write it as integer or float or character. So whenever you say return type, it can be any data type over there, which can be integer, which can be float, or which can be character, and so on. Okay. Then we'll try to write some programs wherein we can make use of functions, and then we'll see how the program needs to be executed. What the program is: exercise 1. Raj wants to perform all arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but he wants to do this with the help of a function. So how is that you are going to write this? So now you are going to write over here hash include, you can say stdio.h, and then you can write a function called void main, or you can write it as integer main. And then what is that you want to do? You want to perform arithmetic operations using 4 different functions, which means this main function is now going to call a function called add. It is going to call a function called, you need to write 4 functions over here. You need to write a function called a subtract. You need to have a function called multiply, and then you need to have a function over there called divide. So these are the 4 functions that you are going to write over there. Now what is the role of the main function? The role of the main function is to accept 2 numbers. So you take 2 numbers over there as integer, float, and so on. Give a message to the user to enter 2 numbers. You can tell the user enter 2 numbers. And then you can accept these values. You can say scanf, %d, ampersand a, ampersand b. Then what is that you do? You need to pass these values to your function to perform various tasks. So you call a function called add, pass on 2 values to that. So what happens? Now the control, your program starts execution from the main. You are accepting 2 numbers over there, and then you are passing these 2 numbers to a function called add. So whenever you pass the numbers here, the values that you pass, they are called parameters. So you are passing the parameters, we say. You're passing the parameters, and these values now will go to the function called add. You need to accept them in this fashion. You need to say integer a, integer b, where here a and b, they are called arguments. So you can write the name of the parameter and arguments in the same way, or you can change the name of the parameter and the argument. So I have passed A and B. I can receive it as A and B, or I can receive it as X and Y. It is not going to make any difference for us. Now, what is the task you want to perform in this function? You just want to perform the sum. So you can say sum of two numbers. Sum of two numbers equals to %d, and then you say a plus b. That completes your task. Okay, so what happens now? It completes this function and it will come back to the main again. Then you call a function called add. Similarly, you call a function called multiply. Similarly, you call a function called divide. And then for all these functions, you try to send the parameters, which are nothing but the values of a and b. So you can send a and b to all these functions. Okay, so now go to subtract function. What is that you need to do in subtract function? You accept it as integer x comma y. It can be a, b, x, y, your choice. You say print the difference of two numbers, %d, you can say a minus b. You can write it in that way. Sorry, here I have taken xy, so I need to write it as xy, right? Okay, similarly, what do? You try to do the same in the multiply function, wherein you take here integer x comma integer y, and then you try to multiply these values and display the product. So you just say product of two numbers, and then you provide here x multiplied by y. Similarly, you write here integer a comma b, whatever way you like. And then here you try to perform or display the quotient after division. Quotient after division. You say %d, comma, you just say a by b over there. That is a by b, as you have taken a, b. So you just display here a by b. So this is how you are going to write the functions and you are going to perform the task over there. So just try to understand this. So your program starts execution from main. So what is that you are doing in the main? You are accepting two numbers over there, and these two numbers you are passing them to a function called add. So value of a and value of b will go to add function. What the add function is going to do there? It is going to accept the values and then it is going to add them and it is going to display. Similarly is the case with subtract function. Similar is the case with multiply function. Similar is the case with division function and so on. Try to run this program now. The program says enter two numbers. You are supposed to enter two numbers over there. You say 50, you say 20. Okay, then you will see sum of two numbers, difference of two numbers. What I have not done is I have not used slash n, backslash n. I'll do that in all these functions. Here after displaying, I'll say backslash n so that next line will come. Your output will come in next line over here and over here. Right, I'll re-execute the program. Yeah, so you can provide two numbers over there, 50, 20, whatever numbers you like. Then you will get sum of two numbers, difference of two numbers, product of two numbers, and division. That is quotient, you get it as 2 and not 2.5. That is because we have made use of integer over there and not a float value. So this way, what we are doing is the main function is coordinating with the rest of the functions and the task is now performed in all other various functions. Now, how the program executes, that depends on how the main function calls the rest of the functions. So the program starts execution always from the main, and if the main calls the add function first, it will execute first. If it calls multiply function first, it will execute first. So the way you write, the program is not going to execute add, subtract, multiply in this way. The way you call the functions are going to get executed. So then in the next video, we'll see how to write more programs with the help of functions and then how to mix up functions with the help of pointers. Thank you. So do subscribe to my channel and press the bell button in order to get the notifications for new videos which I am going to upload time and again. Thank you once again.